everybody, I'm Kate Conroy.
And I'm Vanessa Vitello.
And this is Other People's Business, which is the podcast from the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, the largest statewide business association in the United States of America. We release a new episode every other Wednesday, so be on the lookout for that. Shout out to New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group. They do home, auto, and workers' comp, and they are the official sponsor of the show. So check them out if you need some updated coverage.
Very, very cool. Just a housekeeping matter too before we get this train rolling. This podcast is available just about anywhere you can get a podcast. That's iTunes, Google Play, Amazon's TuneIn. We even throw these things up on YouTube if you'd rather watch than listen. But no matter how you check the show out, give it some love. Give it that like, give it that comment, give it that 5-star review on iTunes. Helps the respective algorithms on each thing find new listeners that we could really use. But with all that out of the way, our awesome guest today from AT&T is Jessica Filante. Jessica, say hi, let the audience hear your voice.
Hi, it's good to be here. I hope you all are well. Had a good holiday.
It's good to have you.
Absolutely. Did you have a good holiday?
I did. I hosted my parents from New York. I'm in Texas, in Dallas, Texas. So it's always good to give them some warmer weather and, some turkey. So we had a great time.
That's awesome.
How long were they in?
I'm sorry, say that again?
How long were they in? Was it just the one day and then shipping right back out?
4 days. We had enough time to see a Dallas Stars game versus the Winnipeg Jets. Sadly, the Stars did not prevail, but it was good to get in some hockey while they were here.
I was just going to say, I'm going to show my ignorance and be like, what sport are the Dallas Stars? That's not NHL though, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, that's how long it's been. Yeah, all right.
The only reason I know that about the Dallas Stars is because back in my youth, they were the North Stars, the Minnesota North Stars. And I'm still bitter about the fact that they left and why and how. It was not a good thing. It was bad.
I feel like we talked about this on the second or third episode of our show, but why did they leave?
Bitter about it because the owner, whose name I believe was Norm Green, demanded that the city build a new stadium, and the city was like, that's a lot of money. No, I don't think we're going to do that. And he said, if you don't, I'm taking the team and I'm moving to Texas. And they were like, Texas doesn't need a hockey team. What are you, crazy? We're going to call you on your bluff. And sure enough, he took the team and he moved them to Texas, and everybody was distraught. But now I know.
You're getting a lot of love. We're bringing, hockey to Texas, and as a transplant, I feel it's my duty to breed more hockey fans down here. So I have 2 of them, and it's great.
I love it. Hockey is my first love as well.
Didn't Texas already have a hockey team? Wasn't it like the Oilers or something? Like Houston? No, am I making this up? Is there no Houston hockey team? No? There's only one hockey team in Texas, and it's
there's a lot of like AHL ones, or I think there's 1 or 2, but I don't know.
Okay, all right. I mean, I don't know why you would take it from Minnesota. Thank
you.
There's got to be another state that makes less sense to have hockey, but
that's fair.
I'll give it to you. They
might
fine.
mourn that more than other places.
We were bitter. I'm still bitter. For a long time, we were bitter for a long time. Anyway, okay, so today's icebreaker is, what are you currently binging? It can be books, movies, television, food, and I am happy to go first since it's sometimes hard for guests to think of something on the spot. So I'm currently binging Inside Amy Schumer, which was a sketch comedy show from back in the day. It was not the comedy, it was Comedy Central, and now it's on Paramount Plus. She's so smart. She makes me laugh every time I see her in anything, really. So I'm loving it. And it's making me want to rewatch the the TV show that she did on Hulu during the pandemic, Life and Beth.
Oh, yeah. Did that get renewed?
I don't know. I don't know if it did or not, but it was great. It was great. Yeah, so Inside Amy Schumer is awesome. Check it out if you can.
Actually, Kate sent me a link to one of the clips, and it was hilarious. So I'm definitely going to check them out. Yeah.
It totally was. Jessica, what do you think?
Holiday break to-do list. Well, book-wise, actually book and movie-wise, I am binging L.M. Montgomery books. So you may know Anne of Green Gables, which, for most young girls is like a feminist icon, and just she's got moxie, she's got red hair, really charismatic. And so actually this summer, my husband took us on our 10-year anniversary trip to Prince Edward Island. So I got to nerd out, and I got to go to like the train station where she's sitting with her little suitcase, waiting to be adopted. And we went to, just to see all the nature and the fields and Lover's Lane, where she and her lover Gabe, got to walk down together. So I've been really enjoying. I think this year has just been so hard and so heavy that like I needed lightness and innocence and just the sweetness of Anne. So that is what I'm binging, like seventh
So you
grade
said
literature.
both the books and the movies. Are you like reading the book and then watching the movie and then reading the next book and then watching the next movie?
A little bit. They didn't make one for one. Like, it's not like a Harry Potter situation that there were enough of us that they were like, yes, we need to cater to all these people and make for the 9 books that she wrote a movie for each. But I'm pretty loyal to the one that's shot in the 80s. And it's funny because we don't have a DVD player. They don't stream it on Hulu or Netflix. So we had to buy a specific app, Gazebo, which I will plug on this podcast, to be able to access these movies.
That's commitment. I love it.
I totally bought those movies on DVD, and that is the only reason I still own a DVD player, to play those old movies, because I am also partial to those ones that were made in the 80s. Nobody does a puffed sleeve like the 1980s. Let's just say it. So good. I know. Have you seen the Anne with an E miniseries? Yeah.
I watched a couple episodes and it was so dark. I was like, no, this is taking what I love about this series, and it's just 21st century, making it morbid and
the cynicism.
Too adult, too PG-13 for me.
Totally agree.
What is it on?
Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix.
Oh, yeah, Netflix would definitely make sense. You say that. I missed Netflix before. You say that like that's the only place we can put it.
I don't think I did mention Netflix, but I did give you a tone in my response to Netflix. Have you read the other Ella Montgomery, like Emily of New Moon? And
I am on that one, actually. Funny you say that.
Is it one canonical series, or are these independent books that just...
They're independent series. So there's the Anne books, and then there are the Emily books, and then there's a third, Lantern Hill, but I can't think of the name of the heroine.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
How many are in with each person?
So the Emily books, I think there are 3. The Anne books, there are 8 or 9, and the Anne books take her right through adulthood, so that she's got 7 kids with the man she ends up with, Gilbert Blythe, and those last books are about her children.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Spoiler alert, I know, sorry.
Well, I sufficiently confused the audience because I called them Gabe, so now they won't know. Is it Gil? Is it Gabe? We don't know.
Okay. It was such a great relationship. Oh, I could geek out about them for hours. They were so mean to each other as kids. Like they were constantly.
Well, it felt very relatable because at the end of the series, World War I comes and she brings that into the narrative, and you see how disruptive this was. All they did was like pick daisies and play make-believe out in the fields, and then like they're sending all the boys out to fight in the war. And so it just felt like that same like jarring transition to the pandemic where you're just like, oh my God, I thought life was always going to be kind of like this, and now it's different. So
without naming names, because we don't want to spoil the last few books there, are there characters, like male characters, that we come to love throughout these books that get shipped off to war and then maybe just don't come back, I'm trying to see where Netflix is pulling the dark from, I'm like, all right, if we've got these books about people picking daisies, like Netflix, where do we get the dark, morbid,
Netflix didn't make it all the way through the end of the books. Like, I think Netflix is only halfway through the second book, where she's still a little girl.
Oh.
and they're still going dark. And it's like, no, the darkest thing that should happen is when she accidentally dyes her hair green and she gets yelled at for it. Like, that's the darkest thing that should happen.
Right, right. But in the book, she does have to send 2 or 3 of her sons off to war. So you're very invested in them staying alive, which we won't share who does. But but yes, no. I wouldn't try.
I think we have
a
statute of limitations on spoilers on this show is 3 years, right? Like something had to have come out within the last 3 years. Like, but no, we're gonna extend it.
We're within the statute of limitations.
Oh my God. These books were written like 100 years ago. Like, so I think we're fine.
Sure.
Oh my God. Anyway.
Dicey.
Sorry.
They're gonna come at me with pitchforks like, you ruined this.
We'll get like tweeted by Spark Notes. They'll be really angry, right?
Exactly. All these English teachers are like, you're making this so easy for kids.
Oh my God.
So my thing is actually, this is a good transition because my thing is also something that got made pretty dark in a modern remake or whatever. But Wednesday on Netflix, it's a remake of, I don't even want to, would you call it a remake of the Addams Family? I mean, it's really just like, it follows Wednesday Addams as she gets kind of expelled from school and sent off to like a weird boarding school. So
yeah, I would call it a spinoff, and I'm loving it as well.
Yeah.
I'm also binging that. It's great. As dark as it is, it's still great.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so dark that you really couldn't appreciate it. I mean, I watched it with my daughter, and she's 5, and I never felt like, oh man, I really shouldn't have shown her that. You know, like it never rose up to that level.
Yeah.
Like there was a point when we were watching Stranger Things a few years ago, and I really regretted a couple of those episodes.
With your 5-year-old?
Yeah, well, she was like 3 at the time. I didn't mean for her to watch it. You know, she just kind of like found her way into the room, and like I was so invested, I didn't want to turn it off. It was actually, if you're familiar enough with the show, it was the Battle of Starcourt, and the thing about that season was that it was so slow, or really like nothing was happening for like 7 episodes, and then you hit that big battle in the mall, and you know this big monster thing is coming through the ceiling, and I was like, all right, yeah, I probably ought to turn this off, but maybe if she sees Anne dies, like, it'll be okay.
Oh my gosh.
But yes, Wednesday was nothing like that. It was probably the darkest thing that I think happens in the whole thing is in the first episode. The reason she gets sent off to boarding school is that somebody picks on her younger brother, Pugsley, and she takes a bag of piranhas and throws them into the swimming pool that they're in, you know, and nobody dies or anything. Like, I don't even think they get, like, there's no like blood or anything like that I can remember. But
oh, there is definitely blood.
Was there blood? I couldn't remember. I might have been looking over at my daughter like, are you okay?
You're not a common sense media, Vinny. I am not trusting your
Exactly. Well, she just loves the Addams Family so much. She's really into the cartoon one that came out a couple of years ago. So when she saw it on the thing, she was like, oh, we should watch this. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I want to see it, you know. Big Tim Burton fan, but anyway, that's what I was binging. If you don't have a 5-year-old around, I would definitely recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noted.
But Jessica, let us know what's going on at AT&T.
Well, we're closing a great year. At least I can speak for my team's year. I am on the environmental sustainability team, and we really look at climate change and how can we both prepare the company to withstand the effects of climate change, then also how can we do our part in averting the impacts. And I'm really proud.
And this has been a great year for that?
Yeah, it has. We just made a big announcement about a partnership between AT&T, Argonne National Lab, and FEMA. And AT&T is actually making public a very high quality climate data set that we commissioned Argonne to produce, and FEMA is now incorporating it for their municipalities to use to plan for disasters of the future. So that was a really, really big win for all of us, and you know, we want every mayor, every governor, every resilience officer to be able to use this data so that the next time there's a Hurricane Sandy, they'll be able to be prepared and adjust infrastructure and things like that.
I'm going to steal a line from one of my colleagues, Ray Cantor. We had an energy conference, I want to say like last month before, and Jessica actually flew out from Texas and spoke at it. And when he was introducing you, he said, you wouldn't think that a telecommunications company would play a role in decarbonization. And I'm shocked that you do, but yeah, I guess AT&T is doing it and they're having a great year.
Yeah, we've committed on the decarbonization side, we've committed to become carbon neutral by 2035. And to get there, we're really active in renewables, and then we're also looking at how can we be more efficient as a company, and how can we convert our fleets. We have a really big fleet, so how can we think about turning those bucket trucks and all the cars that come out to your house to address installations and service, how can we convert those to EVs? So it's exciting. I love this job.
That is amazing. That's actually what my question was going to be. As you were talking, I wrote down energy.
Why AT&T?
Like, yeah, because usually it's an energy company, or I guess in my head, what makes sense is that an energy company would be focused on something like this, and for it to be a telecom company, it just feels outside the box in such a great way, like amazing. And so, sorry, this might be too dumb of a question, but I was a history major, so I don't understand data sets. So when you say climate data set, can you like break that down a little bit as if you were speaking to like a first grader?
Absolutely. No, no, I needed the Cliff's Notes myself, because I'm not, my background is not super technical, so so I needed the same. When we're talking about climate data, so in the past, when you think about, okay, where do we need to prepare for flooding, or where do we need to prepare for wildfires, right? You look at, well, where is it flooded in the past, and where have we had wildfires in the past, right? You're using historical data based on maybe insurance claims, or just meteorologists or whomever is tracking this, right? And what this data, the difference is that this is actually looking forward. So it's looking at all the changes in the environment, from the soil changes to the coastal erosion to the temperature rise, and how that will then impact hurricanes, flooding, wildfire. And so asking the question, okay, we know it was not safe there in the past, but where in the future do we need to prepare for wildfires? So as an example, my parents have a home in Florida, and so it's on my radar as a place to like think about the safety of. And our analysis is showing that actually they're going to be at risk for some wildfires, not to the extent, of course, that Colorado and California are, but it's something that they're going to have to be prepared for. So that's an example of just the disasters of yesterday are not the same as the disasters of tomorrow.
Huh. That is absolutely fascinating. And when you think about the fact that this is not necessarily in your bucket, like, people who care about these things aren't necessarily giant global telecom companies, but you're still dedicating resources, people, money, energy to studying this. That is just so incredibly impressive.
I'm really proud of it. Thank you. And what you do need to think about, though, is we have such expensive and extensive and distributed infrastructure, right? We have poles, and we have central offices, and we have cell towers all over the country, right? So we have to think, how do we protect these very expensive assets? So part of this is a business endeavor that you have to think about. As a large corporation, are you managing risk? And climate brings risk. So, by looking ahead and by fortifying the locations that we see that might be vulnerable, you're helping to manage the risk, lower expenses, and protect people and keep our communities connected, which is key, right? Because you think of the first thing you want to do when a storm hits is you want to call your loved ones, and you want to be able to text them and say, are you okay? So it's really, really important that we are there to serve our customers at the moments that they need us most.
That makes so much sense. And okay, so my next question is maybe I don't know if it's stupid or not, but like, climate shouldn't be a divisive issue. I feel like there's enough evidence on the ground that we all should kind of just agree that it's a problem. Climate change is a thing. Do you ever have to deal with like pushback or
You mean at AT&T or from the public?
Yeah, but from the public or from politicians or from talking heads who are arguing from a place of inauthenticity. They're arguing from a place of more exposure for themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, what I would say is that we definitely, I'll speak internally and then externally.
Yeah, I was gonna say, by all means, feel free to name me.
No, I didn't mean for that. No, I did not mean for within AT&T. I meant people talking at AT&T.
No, but still,
No.
she's, yeah.
Well, if you think about it, if people are used to, doing things one way, building one way, or running assets one way, and they used historical data in the past, then you are asking them to change the way they do things, and that can be hard. Any kind of operational shift can be hard. So I would say part of my job is, to show like this data is really valid. And it's not as much do you believe in climate change or not, it's more just are you willing to make bets on things that may not have happened yet? So part of our whole group's charge is to prepare the company to think differently, to think about a systemic risk that we just haven't had to deal with in the same way. When you think about externally, though, what is nice, while climate change may be controversial, climate resilience is really not, because whether you're a mayor, whether you're a governor, when a storm hits, you're on the front lines. It doesn't matter what you believe. Like, you need to protect your stakeholders, your citizens, your communities. So I think the nice thing about this FEMA announcement and the tool that we're making available with FEMA and the data that we're making available is that who wouldn't want to know how to protect their communities? That's kind of a no-brainer kind of proposition. So.
Yeah, agree. Wow, that's a lot to think about. I love it. Okay, I think we're gonna take a quick break and then we're gonna come back and play a game. Okay, and we are back, and it is now time to play our lightning round, which today is brought to us by RWJ Barnabas. Jessica, are you ready?
I'm so ready.
All right, favorite pizza topping?
Pepperoni.
Absolutely.
Great answer. I was so worried that living in Texas had made you want to put, I don't know, armadillo.
Well,
do they have pizza in Texas?
No.
No.
I'm a New Yorker, so I'm particularly snobby about that. And I went to school in Chicago, so I've had deep dish and New York pizza. So I admittedly am a bit of a snot about that, but actually the addendum to my answer is that I'm gluten-free, so I don't really eat pizza anymore. So it's fitting that I move to a place where I have less temptation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good. Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry, though. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. It's a tough one.
I've had actual nightmares where I find out that I'm lactose intolerant. I can't live in a world without pizza. Like, you wake up in like a cold sweat and you're like, oh my God, it was just a dream. I can still eat
what's
pizza.
so sad, Vinny? I actually dream about eating gluten. Like, I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I ate a cupcake. How could I
your body telling you something. Hold on. You know what I'm craving?
It's made into my subconscious and pervading my thoughts. So yes, exactly. It is sad.
Hilarious. All right, greatest TV show ever made?
Gilmore Girls.
You and I,
we're soulmates. The Anne of Green Gables, you and I just clearly need to have a sleepover.
100% we need a sleepover. Oh my goodness.
Are they ever going to make another season of that? Because I feel like the last one ended on sort of all right, I'm going to give it away because it was more than 3 years ago, right? She says she's pregnant, and I'm like, all right, where are we going from there?
Yeah.
And I just said she. It could be anybody, right? There's two main characters on that show.
That's true. Her mother could have been pregnant.
Well, now you've just given it away entirely. All right, so young Rory, right? That's her name? I can't remember.
Rory.
That show, yeah.
So that's how Amy Sherman Palladino, in every interview that she ever gave about how it was going to end, that's how she said she was going to end the show. So
really?
So I don't actually think they're ever going to do another, because she said that's how she wanted to end it. I could be wrong.
So it'll be like full circle of her mom having her or whatever?
Yeah. Well, I mean, except for Rory's not like a 16-year-old child, but
yeah. But she kind of
No.
acts like it on the show. I'm not gonna lie.
I was so unhappy with that, bringing it back thing. I just would have written it. I wish Amy had called me and been like, where do you need closure personally?
Right?
Because the way it went was not. It did not fit the bill.
I
So,
totally agree with you. We should have had a conference call with her because you and I think, could have written the ending a little bit better.
right? Just given some coaching on stop whining, stop cementing all these stereotypes about millennials that are super annoying,
Oh
and
my God.
just grow up and be as cool as your mom,
Thank you. But also in that last season, and I'm sorry for going down this rabbit hole, but it
Yeah,
is
it's
necessary.
important.
We ask this question in every show now, and nobody's ever said Gilmore Girls, so roll with it.
Thank you. All right, so in that last season, Lorelai's storyline with Luke was just stupid. It's like they forgot that adults have other problems other than, should we have an in vitro baby? Like, you're in your 40s, you're close to your 50s, you've got other things to think about. It was just the dumbest storyline I was so mad.
And can you see now why me saying one of them was pregnant at the end of the show wasn't the entire spoiler?
Yes, totally.
We took it all the way.
But yes, I totally agree with you about the stereotypes of millennials and how stupid. Yeah, I just feel like she should have called us.
Yeah. Well, if they
when
are
this whole Mrs.
considering,
Maisel thing is done, get hold of us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on Maisel?
I'm not current. I haven't watched the latest season, but I also
the latest season. That would have been a while ago, right?
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the pandemic really, it messed up everything.
Oh, so you're very unhappy with where it went?
No, I'm saying the pandemic messed up everything in the sense that I don't think they've been back. Like, they haven't had a consistent 1 year per season for a while. I'm saying.
But I want to say, I'm just going to be bold and say that I loved season 1, and every season since has been consistently worse.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Yep. Season 1 could be like its own little universe, and I would just watch that over and over again for, once a year.
There are many shows I wish that for. Like The Morning Show, great season 1. I don't think.
Oh my God, thank you. Season 2, not as great.
No.
They are very simpatico. All right. So, favorite movie?
Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind.
Ooh, you had that locked and loaded. Nicely done.
I
You
did.
can share these questions ahead of time,
No, I've just listened to your podcast.
Oh, okay.
Steady up on anything I might need.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. And wait, let's pause for a second. I saw that once a long time ago, and I remember being like mind blown.
Yeah.
So how many times have you watched it, and do you feel like you totally understand it all?
I watched it like 40 million times, but I just watched it recently on the plane, and it holds up. And it's actually deeper. As now, a 40-year-old woman, I can really appreciate the nuance of oh gosh, what if you could break up with someone and have that all those memories extracted from your brain? How would you be different? Would you want that? When you have a great love, is that so crippling that you would need that? So it was really great rewatching. So I suggest, Kate, over the break to give that a go.
I would have to check that out. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay. What is the most daring thing you've ever done?
Okay. So last year in 2021, I went hiking with a girlfriend of mine, and we went to Sonoma, and we
so many different directions this can be going. I'm my seat.
I was actually debating in my head, is it Sedona or Sonoma? It's Sedona. We're in Arizona. So my geography skills are really on display here. But there was this one part of one of the hikes that we did where you had to walk, or you didn't have to, actually. It was just like a giant selfie opportunity / Instagrammable moment. And it was this just really thin strip of rock that was stretching over this giant chasm. And I at first was like, look, I will take your picture. You go walk over there. I will, be your photographer. And then last minute, I was like, I'm going to do it. So I actually went out, and I will send you a picture afterwards, but I went out on this
we'll put it right over
strip of rock, and it was terrifying, and I almost like shook so much that I felt like I was gonna lose my balance and fall off.
So it's
But
like a little peninsula of rock that juts out from the chasm, let's say?
it was almost like a little bridge, you know, and it was definitely not as thin once you were actually walking on it. It was you know, like wider than it looked, but it was still just terrifying to process. Like if just things started to chip away and you could just like fall.
So what I'm imagining, if you ever saw Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, is
Mm.
when he has to go over that invisible bridge, and then when you see it, it's like that rock that's just a little wider than him. Yeah.
That's pretty much what I look like. That's
Okay.
I'd say skip that visual. Better than me being like, oh my God, oh my God. You can do this, Jessica. That's what
There
I
you
pretty
go.
much did the whole time. So
Amazing.
Excellent.
All right. 2 more questions. What is your favorite restaurant in New Jersey?
That's got to
ooh,
be a really tough one, because
Yeah.
how often do you visit?
yeah. I didn't visit long enough because of my like dietary restrictions. I had to eat at a Whole Foods basically, so that technically was the only place I could find there. So I will invite you to make recommendations for me because
Okay.
I sadly haven't been to New Jersey long enough to refresh my memory of all the wonderful places to eat.
Fair
Kate,
enough.
what's yours?
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's too hard. Right now, Kai Yang in Montclair. Kai Yang. They do Thai food and they specialize in chicken. And I don't like chicken, and I could eat at this place every day, all day. It is amazing. Kai Yang in Montclair.
Okay.
What about you, Ben?
Oh, I don't know. We just needed a recommendation.
Oh,
Next time
fine.
somebody stumbles on that question and doesn't have an answer, you can come back to me.
Fair enough, fair enough. All right, we're gonna wrap this up quick because I know that we've got a few more business-related questions, and while this is the most fun part of the show, it can't go on forever. Morning person or night owl? I know.
Oh, definitely a night owl. Although it would be so much more convenient if we were morning people because our sons wake up at 5:15 and like and typically
Just on their own volition, or do they have to do like, what is it, like morning
no,
practice or
they
something?
just wake up. And it's like the melatonin just like ding, like you know, totally just stops at 5:15, and you know you can kind of hear them fighting for like a good half hour, and then we've given them you know a restriction like you can't come in till 6, and then at 6 a.m. they both like bolt into our room. They're 4 and 7 respectively, and one of them is usually like, Liam's trying to kill me, and that's when I wake up too. So it's really great. So I wish I were a morning person to go in and like do yoga with them or something, but I sadly don't have that clock.
Oh, I'm sorry, but you know what?
Yeah.
Someday you'll think back to these times as you know, there'll be fond memories. Like, remember when he used to
Indeed.
win? Yeah, someday
Yeah.
maybe.
Someday.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well that was sorry, Vin.
Go ahead.
That was the lightning round, which today was brought to us by RWJ Barnabas. Thank you. Shout out to RWJ Barnabas.
Awesome. Before we get on to the last question, I want to say I fact-checked myself during our break. The Houston Oilers were an NFL team that then became the Tennessee Titans. So I was wrong. They weren't NHL. But you would have known better than me anyway, so yeah. Just in case anybody listening to the show is like, what is he talking about? Anyway.
Like we're boycotting this.
Yeah, exactly.
Names right.
We're not coming to this fake news podcast anymore. So Kate mentioned we wanted to get at least one more question back in about AT&T. How do you work with other companies in this space?
Yeah,
so you know, we joked before this started that you can't put it all on one person's shoulders. You can't really put it all on AT&T's shoulders either, but go ahead.
Exactly. No, you're totally right. Climate is an area where you collaborate, you do not compete. So we actually work with a bunch of other companies through an initiative that we launched in 2021 called the Connected Climate Initiative. And through this coalition, we work with Microsoft, we work with Salesforce, Siemens, a bunch of other companies, and together we combine our technologies to help reduce emissions together. And collectively, our charge is to reduce a gigaton of emissions, which is 1 billion metric tons. So it's a lot.
Not to get into the actual science, but how do you do that? Like,
yeah, well, each of our companies, just like superheroes, have special skills, right? So
Sure.
AT&T's special skill is connectivity, and what many people don't realize is that connectivity creates efficiencies and helps to reduce emissions. So whether you're looking at a factory, whether you're looking at a city, we can provide real-time data that helps you understand, oh, wait, we're wasting energy here. Like, why don't I, make this change, and I can tweak this. And so that's the kind of thing that with the internet and with connectivity that we provide, we actually help other companies do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is amazing.
Is there anything coming up you want to promote?
Yeah, I want to go back quickly to something I talked about earlier, AT&T and FEMA and Argonne's climate tool. It's called the Climate Risk and Resilience Portal. You can go to anl.gov and there, so Argonne hosts the portal, but it's really for emergency managers, engineers, city planners around the country. And you guys in New Jersey can click on whatever your city or municipality is, and you can look at, well, how will temperature change from now to mid-century or now to 2100? You can look at, in addition to temperature, precipitation, wind, and it's really interesting because once you get local, the changes are not all the same across the board. So it's kind of fascinating to see, how many more inches of rain do we need to be prepared to handle? Or, for those parts of the country that aren't used to extreme heat, where do we need to build heat shelters to protect vulnerable populations? So it's a really wonderful tool, and I encourage you all to go on and look at how your state or city will fare.
Cool.
Fantastic.
How do you find it?
So you could either Google Climber, CLIMRR, and Argonne, AT&T, any of those terms will get you there. But it's also on Argonne's site. So
Awesome.
I will send you the link afterwards.
Okay. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, maybe learn more or, get connected, how can they do that?
Oh, I would love to hear from folks on LinkedIn. So that is my main social networking place. So if you look up Jessica Filante Farrington, I'm on there. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Fantastic. What a great show. I am so pleased that we could get you on here.
Much for having me. This was so fun.
The pleasure was all ours.
It
the
really
most delightful interview I've ever done.
I'm seriously
I
going
love
to be
it.
texting you on LinkedIn about our shows. So just wait for that.
Yay.
All right. Thank you to our listeners, especially the subscribers. We really appreciate the support. Thank you to New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, the official sponsor of the show. They do home, auto, and workers' comp, so check them out if you need some updated coverage. And finally, big thank you to Jessica Filante with AT&T for joining us today. Had a great time.
Well, great to chat with you guys. Thank you so much.
It was our pleasure, and we'll see you next time. Bye.